Back inside now, and we've left these two Wampas out in the sun in hydrogen peroxide for 2 full days. And you can see they already look a lot better and a lot whiter and a lot closer to how they originally were. The glue stains on the head are completely gone. You can't even see them at all. The body overall looks much lighter, and you don't see the glue stains on the arms and the hands. So they look a lot better than they did. Obviously they're not brilliant white and back exactly to how they were originally. You see these legs on this one on the right are still a little bit whiter, but pretty much the hydrogen peroxide has done its job and they look a lot better than they did before. Our next step is to reattach the arms. Now, originally these had some white elastic going between the arms through the body to hold the arms on, and they were posable. And we saw earlier that these no longer were posable. The arms just kind of flopped down. So I found some replacement elastic, these hair bands at a local store. These are pretty close to what the originals were. They're about 4 millimeters thick, which is the thickness of the original elastic bands. So these are going to be a good replacement. To connect these arms back together, we're going to feed this elastic through the little holes in the connector in each arm, make a loop on each side, one on each arm, and then connect them together with a wire tie. What we're going to do to connect these is we are going to loop this elastic through each arm separately and make a little loop, one on each arm. In order to do that, you're going to need a few things. First off is a piece of wire that's semi-flexible, not completely loose and not completely firm either. Some thread, tweezers, and a pair of pliers. This is going to be a little bit of a pain to do. I learned this technique from Toy Polloi, and I will put a link to his video in the description down below here so you can see how he did it. And so I'm going to be pretty much replicating his method. So you'll take your string and tie it around one end of your elastic. If you've got some hair bands like I'm using, you cut the elastic in half, tie the string to one end. Otherwise, if you have like a spool of cord, just cut off a piece, leave a little bit extra, more than you'll need. So tie your string close to the end as you can, not so close that it's going to just fall off or pull off when we're going to have to pull on this a little bit. The other end you want to tie to the end of your wire here, and then make a little hook at the end of your wire that will use to go through both holes, pull through, and then pull this elastic through. I moved one of the Wampas off to the side so we have a little bit more space to work. The next part is to get your elastic through the arm. You want to take the arm and hold it kind of parallel to the ground so that the connector is resting against the armhole. And then you take your wire and you want to hook it through the connector. And it takes a lot of trial and error to do this, but you want to hook through one side and then the other. I just about got it here. So I'm going to take a pair of tweezers and grab this wire. And I've got it through. And I'm going to take a pair of pliers just to start pulling it through so I can have enough space to grab it with my fingers. Work the wire through, and now I've got my string through, and I'm going to feed one end of the elastic through, and you want to push it in good ways because you need to loop back around. And then with my string I need to pull the elastic through the connector, and there we go. Okay, we can cut off our thread now. We don't need that anymore. And then you want to tie this with a fairly small loop. I mean, almost right down to the connector. Depending on the elastic you use, you may be able to leave a little bit more space, but I found through trial and error, it really is a small loop because it stretches so much. You know, if you stretch like this, you can see it almost goes the whole length of the body, and then you have a piece on the other side that stretches that much, and then you end up with floppy arms again. So you really want to tighten it down as much as you can and really only have just a little bit of a loop there. So I've got one side on. I'm going to do the other one off camera and then show you how to connect them through the body. Got the elastic on the other arm, so we're ready to now to attach the two arms inside of the body. I'm going to start by feeding the elastic through the body. And there's a peg right in the middle. I'm putting the elastic over the peg towards the head, but either way you should be fine. So we get there, and we want this elastic just to have just enough of a loop where we can get a screwdriver through and hold it. So now we've got one of the two arms on. To attach it, we're going to use this zip cable tie here and feed this through the loop of elastic. And you want to make sure that your zip tie is going in the right direction so you can tighten it up. So we feed that through one loop, and then we will feed it through the loop in the other arm here. And then connect that together and start pulling the zip tie tight. And pull that all the way tight. Now we can cut off the excess elastic. There. Make sure that's pulled good and tight. And then we can clip off most of the excess of the length of the zip tie. And now the moment of truth, we're going to remove the screwdriver and let that elastic come back in the body. There. And we now have a Wampa with arms that are posable. And we can pose him, and then we have the other Wampa, which I've already finished, that also has the stiff arms. His arms aren't quite as stiff, but there's still plenty good enough to pose. So there you have it. We've got both of our Wampas back together, and they're standing, and we'll put their arms down. And so this is how they look now. Here's how they looked before. And again, now that they've been cleaned up. So that's the end of this Wampa video. Again, I mentioned it before, but the arm reattaching technique, I definitely learned from Toy Poloi. Check out his video on how he did his Wampas in the link below. Check out his other videos. He has lots of great repair tips. But again, thanks for watching, and hope you enjoy the Wampas.